without further ado, get into this situation with the Utah Jazz and their TV deal, because I think this is a big one for Jazz fans, and I know there are a lot of fans that are frustrated. Let me give you the particulars first, and that is that the TV deal is unchanged. And I can tell you, just having got off the phone with Utah Jazz sources moments ago, there is a high level of frustration with Ryan Smith and his executive team. They were hoping to improve or do something better to distribute their product this year, and they just simply ran out of time to do that, mainly because of the contractual time frames, the agreements that they have in place. Now, the Jazz say that deal only became open to negotiation a couple of weeks ago. But at the end of the day, from what I was told by my sources at the Jazz, there is a lot of frustration because Ryan Smith's mantra about his fan base is, we need to super serve Jazz fans. And they feel like as an organization, they were not able to accomplish that with this TV deal. So if you are on DirecTV, you're great. If you're on Dish Network, you're not so great. And I think, Jake, one of the things that's pretty clear is that there's a lot of frustrated Jazz fans right now.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that when you look at, like if you're on Twitter today, looking at this whole situation, you see the graphic that they put out where you can see the notes in the different boxes, and they kind of tell you where they're going to be distributing thing. And the major thing that's left out of this is streaming. That's the big thing right now that to me stands out as just not available. We all know YouTube and the NBA in the big picture, like at a league level, there's a massive partnership there. So I think that's sort of the big loss here, if I'm being honest. Like, not being on YouTube, not being able to stream to major platforms like that. Obviously you've got DirecTV Stream, but nobody really does DirecTV Stream. Right. I mean, that's just not, I think we can all agree on that. So I think the big thing when I look at this graphic, I'm like, hey, obviously, yeah, like you said, you're good on DirecTV. If you use the DirecTV Stream, all right, great, more power to you, but I don't know anybody who uses that. If you're on Comcast, fine, and then a little bit of Fubo, but you're just not where I feel like the majority of your fans would be, which is guaranteed on their phone. And obviously you're on DirecTV. So that's why I say, like, yes, it is disappointing this year, but I also think that at the same time, you're in a position where you're talking about getting a new deal that, super serves your fan base, right? And that's what we kind of want to hear. If I'm not going to get it this season, okay, well, are we at least moving in the right direction? And I think it's important that, Ryan and his team put that out there today. If we're not going to get it done this year, then the fans need to know, hey, we are pushing to get something done. And my hope is, and again, this is just going off of what they said, my hope is that next season, okay, maybe we do have like a Utah Jazz TV network or like something that they've created for themselves. That's what I hope they do.
Yeah, and listen, if you're a Jazz fan, as Greg Hawkins is commenting on the show, anytime Monty and Jake criticize the Jazz is a good time for me. I'm a lifelong Jazz fan, and I'm sick of local media refusing to call out the problems with the organization. This is a problem with the organization. There is no doubt about that. And again, I'll put this graphic back up so that you guys can see it. And you can see, frankly, that there is one option, and that is that you're on DirecTV. You look at those first two columns, and really what you see there is that, you have DirecTV, and that's really it. If you notice what's not on that graphic, it is Dish Network. DirecTV, you get TNT, ESPN, ABC, NBA TV. Yeah. The Stream, you get all of that. Comcast, you get all of that. Fubo, you only get ATT and ABC, ESPN. So if they play a Thursday night game, on TNT, you're not getting that on Fubo TV. That's the problem, and that's why there's so much frustration.
Well, and that's where this whole concept, like when this first came out, I was tweeting about it. And, several of the listeners or viewers that watch this show were basically saying that, hey, yeah, like it's business as usual. Like I don't have DirecTV. This person was saying I don't have DirecTV. So I'm gonna basically through the NBA app, I'm going to stream, League Pass, and I'm going to do that on a VPN so that League Pass can't track my location so I can watch the Jazz game. I mean, that's literally the level of commitment that Jazz fans have. And I think that's kind of the message that shines through. When you look at, points per broadcast and like how strong viewership is for the Utah Jazz compared to the rest of the league. I don't know how many people know this. The Utah Jazz are ranked second in viewership in the league on their TV games, only behind the Golden State Warriors. So I think, without a doubt, Jazz fans watch games. There's no question about it. The fan base is plugged in, and I think it just I just think it's super important if you're not going to have something this year, which you're not. Obviously, business as usual. Being that you're not going to have something this year, it's important to send the message that, we are working towards something. And I think this story we're hearing about how, hey, this deal that was signed in 2009 and goes to the end of this year or whatever, and the negotiating window just opened, not to be cold-blooded about it, but no Jazz fan gives a damn about that. Nobody cares about that side of it from if you're a Jazz fan or a Jazz supporter. All you care about is, can I pull it up on my phone or can I find it on the TV easy? Or like what, how easily can I find this stuff? Because I want to know, like, hey, if Don gets traded, you're damn right I want to see what this new team is like. If Don doesn't get traded, what's the new team like? That's why I think having it this year was so important. So it is disappointing, but I'm glad to hear that they're working towards something, without a doubt.
Yeah, I just think the other thing that is so interesting is that we are seeing that there is the NBA schedule release is coming out, and I don't think that that's accidental. I mean, when you're looking at the Utah Jazz and their schedule and the news, they're doing exactly the right thing here, which is they are releasing the schedule so that this kind of covers their TV news, which I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I think when you are looking at what the Jazz are doing, I think there is no doubt in my mind that you're trying to spin this the best way that you can. And I just don't know. I don't know how you do that. And when I look at this TV deal, let's be real honest about it. If you don't have DirecTV, you don't have full access to the Jazz.
Agreed.
I mean, it is that simple. If you are on, again, DirecTV and Comcast, you have full access to the TV stuff. If you're a Dish Network customer, and there are a ton of Dish Network customers in this town, if you are a Dish Network customer, you are out of luck on the Utah Jazz, which is shocking. And the thing that I will say about that is, how long are we going to have to find Utah Ute games somewhere else? How long are we going to have to find Utah Jazz games somewhere else? And I know that we've talked a lot on our regular show Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 9:30 here on YouTube. I know we've talked a lot about this, but at what point does Salt Lake City start acting like a major market? At what point do we have every major sporting team on regularly available television or stream? At what point? And right now, it's unacceptable that you're the Utah Jazz and every one of your games is not on TV or stream.
Facts.
It's shocking to me. And I think when you look at the reaction of the fan base, there's a lot of people that are fed up with it. And I just, I'm amazed by it. Arlington Bears, what's up? Chris Carney says YouTube TV has all the options except ATT Sportsnet. How amazing is that?
Yeah.
That every one of their games is on ATT Sportsnet, but you can't get that on YouTube TV.
And that's what I'm saying. I think teams, like the Jazz or any major league, like baseball, football, whatever. I think it is grossly underestimated how many people have cut the cord, as the saying goes. How many people are now 100% internet-based? They don't have a dish sitting in their backyard. You don't have that traditional setup anymore. And so to Chris's point, people stream now. That's what we do. We have iPhone 13 Pro Maxes for a reason, right? Like, these are mini computers. We got smart TVs. Like, we have basically everything that caters to the internet. So the fact that you're not on YouTube or you're not streamable, essentially, like, that's a problem. And that's why I say, you're right. They probably, and I'm not trying to be hot take guy, but releasing the schedule right after your TV thing comes out does kind of feel like you're covering your tracks. It definitely sends that kind of a message. And by the way, since we're bringing up the schedule, looking at the schedule, by the way, who do you start with? The Denver Nuggets. You think Jazz fans want to watch the Nuggets? You think they want to watch that home game you start with?
Well, but obviously the other game of note is the second game of the season is in Minneapolis against Rudy Gobert and the Timberwolves.
Yes.
And you look at the first run of games. I mean, the first 3 games for the Utah Jazz is Denver, home, away at Minnesota, away at New Orleans, away at Houston, and then home for Houston. I mean, you start looking at home games. You have back-to-back home games on a Saturday, Monday with the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, you have huge games. Dallas, November 2nd. Lakers, November 4th. Clippers, November 6th. Lakers, November 7th. Like, you have all these huge games early in the season that you got to get on DirecTV. You know, I can only say this so many times. I have been a DirecTV customer for 20 years.
Decades.
And I'm telling you, that's the place to be. Scammer Trolling says, schedule just released. Jazz have 0 games on ABC or ESPN. Which is a real bummer. That's a real bummer. That's a real problem.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where when you're the Utah Jazz, this is a less than ideal situation for your schedule.
If you put the graphic up one more time, the ABC ESPN dynamic is really interesting, because when you start looking at this, you start to understand that, okay, unless you're on DirecTV, you know, you're not getting that full access. So and then you're not on YouTube, so you're not going to get that national game on YouTube. Like, it's just not. And that's why I say I didn't want to come on this show or whatever, this live stream, and be ultra negative about it. That wasn't the goal. But when you start getting into this and you start kind of looking at it, and then the schedule releases, and you kind of combine the two, it's kind of like, man, yeah. No, I guess no. I'd have to verify that, but just going off of that comment, I guess no ESPN games, no ABC games or whatever. Like, it's just this kind of frustrating. Like,
it really
is.
Like,
the Utah Jazz have a lot of things happening right now. Like, assuming, again, go back and watch the show from this morning, but assuming that Donovan Mitchell is here for camp, like, this season is huge. Like, this offseason's been marketed as like one of the biggest offseasons in Utah Jazz history, if not the biggest. And now you weren't able to get that distribution piece done. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. Utah Jazz fans don't care if the negotiating window just opened or you know what I mean? Like, the technicalities, nobody cares about that. Respectfully, like, it's all about, hey, can I watch it or not? That's it.
How am I going to get it? And again, if you're just tuning into the show, here we are talking about a couple of things breaking news-wise. The Jazz TV update came out today as they met with the media. There is no update. The TV distribution has not changed for this year. And I do think it's important to note that I genuinely believe that Ryan Smith is pretty upset about this. I mean, I know that he wants a TV deal that reaches every single Jazz fan. A, he's a businessman. Why would he not want that? Mm-hmm. But B, the number one thing that Ryan Smith hears about is what's going on with the TV deal. When are we going to get a TV deal? When are we going to get a stream deal? Hey, when are we going to be online? Hey, he hears that question repeatedly. And my guess is, I would think before, and it wouldn't surprise me if they announce it at the All-Star game, I have to think they're going to launch their own TV channel. I have to think so.
Yeah.
I have to think that they are going to have to find a way to be local here. I can't believe that you're going to have a situation with the Utah Jazz for another year. It's shocking. Another year. It's done. They're not going to be on Dish Network. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for me to believe that we're going to get through this season and not have a major update on a TV package for next season.
Well, and that would be the saving grace.
I mean, couldn't believe it.
If you get that update, let's say, just after the holidays, as an example, that would ease your pain a bit if you're a Utah Jazz fan. But again, it's still, again, the fact that you have people who have to, okay, I got to get League Pass. Then I got to figure out how to get a VPN, because how many people know how to get a VPN? That's something you're going to have to research and set up and do all that, right? So, like, these are extra steps that people have to take. And so that's why I say it's just one of those situations where, to your point, this is what you've been saying lately. When are the Utah Jazz going to start operating like that big market club? When are they going to, when is the field organization going to take that next step up? That's the thing. I look at this Laker news that just came out where you've got LeBron, signing a 2-year, like $98 million extension. And before we jumped on here, I was doing some research and noticed that the Lakers have like the number one brand in the league. Like they have, I think, 44 million followers across social platforms, and like they've got their own TV network, and like all this stuff that they're doing. And so on the show, go back and listen. We talked all about how like, hey, you have to start operating like a big league club. Like, hey, we have our own TV network. We're doing, as I would say, like premium content that fans, have to subscribe to or whatever, like Inside the Jazz or whatever it is. We're doing all these things to bring Jazz fans closer to the organization. What is Donovan Mitchell doing? Like there's a million examples, but the point is, it all starts with being able to have every Jazz fan watch your games. That's where the whole thing starts. So hopefully we do get an update. Hopefully before the end of the year, you have an update. You know where, in 23-24, you're going to watch these games. And hopefully the Jazz are doing well on the floor, because that would really help. Like winning games always helps. So that's what I think the game plan has to be.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting is looking at this schedule that they released. Dude, it's a meat grinder. If you look at that schedule we put up on the screen, for October, you're home for Denver on opening night, at Minnesota, at New Orleans, at Houston, home versus Houston, at Denver, back-to-back home games against Memphis to close the month out. I mean, that is a grinder when you're at New Orleans on the 23rd, at Houston the 24th, off on the 25th, home for Houston on the 26th, and then you're off the 27th, back-to-back Denver, Memphis, 28-29, off the 30th, and then you're home against Memphis on Halloween. Like, that schedule's not great.
Not easy.
That schedule's not great. I mean,
easy.
I go back to this season is setting up to be very difficult for the Utah Jazz. There's no doubt about that. I mean, there just isn't. There's no other way around that. Greg Hawkins says Jazz missing more than just the playoffs, sadly. Yeah, sadly they are. I don't disagree with that. Scammer Trolling says they launched their own channel in the 80s, K-Jazz. Many great Jazz and Ute games back in the day. Yeah, I think here's my question about the Jazz. You have this great relationship now with Bonneville, like the Zone Sports Network and KS what is it, the Jazz KSL Zone or whatever they call it. Like, you have all these great properties. How are you not leveraging those? How are you not leveraging KSL TV and KSL Radio? How is every Jazz game not on KSL Radio? I mean, the signal is superior. How are you not saying we're walking away from AT&T, hey, let's do a deal with KSL TV?
Yeah.
Like, how is that not happening? Those are the things that I think Ryan Smith would love to do right now
Great
today.
question.
But contractually, I don't think they have the option to do that. And again, I know we've said this 1,000 times, but this Jazz team is paying the price for the sins of those who came before them.
Seriously.
I mean,
seriously.
This TV deal is way too long, right? It should have been a 7-year deal. It's what is it? A 12-year deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a situation where you're having to trade Rudy Gobert because it's one of the worst contracts in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
You have no TV deal. You have a terrible radio situation where you have a guy that dreamed his entire life of being the play-by-play guy for the Jazz, but their radio signal is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have no idea where to find Jazz games on TV. I'm telling you, wherever you want to get it, get DirecTV, man. Like, that is the one sure bet.
But I think the thing for the consumer is, like, for me personally, I pay about $88 a month for my DirecTV package. It's like something in that range. And again, that's with, League Pass and, like, I had extra innings for a while before, we went full time with this. So, like, I was, playing baseball games all day or whatever. But you figure, okay, $88 a month for a DirecTV package with League Pass.
Yep.
I had at one point before we came back to Salt Lake City, I had trialed YouTube TV, and that was in like the $30, $40 range, somewhere there, so like about half the price. And that's what I think a lot of people look at here and say, okay, I can't get this on YouTube, or I can't get this where I get everything else. So yeah, maybe I will wait till next season. Like, that's what concerns me.
I just think you need to go all in on DirecTV. I would.
But the times we're in, I don't think that people are willing to pay for that. That's the thing. Like, I'm not so confident that people are willing to say, yeah, well, they're only on DirecTV, so that means I got to call DirecTV. And you have the whole commitment thing where, like, people I think have a lot of nerve or anxiety about committing to a TV thing, like with DirecTV for like a year or whatever. Like, we're in a cancel culture, if you will, where you can cancel things at any time.
But I think we're also learning that cutting the cord, so to speak, was not as easy as everybody made it out to be.
True, yeah.
It's the things you don't think about.
There's trade-offs.
Where are you going to get your Utes games? Where are you going to get your BYU game? Like, I mean, that's the problem in this market now. We have to act like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, or we're just going to be that little mountain enclave. And we're better than that.
Yeah.
We're better than that. We have to act better than that. Xavier Pena says if the Jazz tank can somehow land Victor VW, that's what Ryan is buying on, I think. I don't think so.
I guess I don't
so.
understand the logic there, though. Like, is the reach that, hey, they didn't get a TV deal done now because they're going to tank this year and then they'll have a TV deal for next year because they'll get VW? Like, that's an awfully risky thing to do, being that I think the percentage, again, tune into this morning's show, we talked about this specifically, the percentage of getting the number 1 overall pick, even if you did tank and you did get extra opportunity, is only like 17%, I think, or something. Like, It's not like it's 90% or whatever. It's not like it's guaranteed you're going to get that pick.
No, Danny Ainge is too smart for that.
Yeah.
Danny Ainge, I just think Danny's too smart. Joe Kerr says all 82 games live and in Technicolor only on AT&T.
Right.
Technicolor. You know, the Playtone label. Gabe Ledley says, can the Jazz put their games on VHS tape that I can rent from Blockbuster?
Bro.
Be kind. Rewind.
Bro.
Wow. Gabe.
Bro.
Obviously not.
Scammer Trolling says Jazz need to go all in on tanking. I don't know about that. I
just don't think this is, dude, listen, I don't think this is related to basketball, like, in that sense. I don't think that Ryan is saying, like, it's not that I know. The information we've been given is that they're pissed about this. They are not amused that they don't have a distribution deal, essentially, for this year that serves Jazz fans properly, because that's the verbiage. We're not serving our fan base. That's the verbiage we got. So if that's the case, if that's how you feel, then this has nothing to really do with your on-the-court product. This has everything to do just simply with getting more Jazz fans and more eyes in front of what's already a really strong viewership. Like, again, you're second in the league in viewership right now on a crappy TV deal. What would you be on a really good TV deal? It begs the question.
It does beg the question. And my point is, this, man, this UFC card that's coming up on Saturday.
Usman.
It better be, Usman and Edwards. It better be sold out, and it's not right now. I can tell you that.
Well, Ryan talked again. Not hating on Ryan, but Ryan did talk a load of junk at that press conference about selling it out. Like, he did.
I'm just telling you, man. You've got to do. This is not Ryan Smith's fault. Let's make that very clear.
Yeah.
This is not Ryan Smith's fault.
Are we clear on that?
His hands were tied on this, I think. There's no doubt about that.
Well, and you were, again, it's not like this deal was negotiated in his time here. I mean, this deal goes back to 2009. Like,
this is not his fault.
But I think what a lot of Jazz fans want is something done about it. You know, like.
My feeling is that a year from now, you can be pissed if nothing's done. I don't think this is something to be upset about with Ryan Smith. But what it is it's another tough announcement. It's another piece of news that's not going to go the way you want it to go.
Yep.
And it's another disappointment for your fans. And you can line this up with the jersey release. You can line this up with, not making any more deals. You can line this up. Yeah, I mean, I just think this has been a tough go for Ryan Smith right out of the gate. And I feel like you made a really good deal with Rudy Gobert, and now there's just been radio silence. And I don't think that this plays well with the new jersey. I don't think this plays well with delaying the purple jersey a year. Like,
I have to say, to your point, we haven't really seen much pub on the UFC thing. I have to be honest.
No.
Like, we saw the presser, but it's not like, I mean, I've seen on ESPN, of course, because it'll be on ESPN Plus, I believe. You see the commercials and stuff, but it's not like it's like, oh, this is at Vivint Arena. Like, they're not they're pushing that it's in Salt Lake City, obviously. So that's why I say I it's just really interesting, that we haven't seen more, I guess, and that's my thing. Like, when again, go on Twitter and find the graphic or whatever, but you can clearly see that if you're not on DirecTV, and I think Comcast has them all as well, if you're not on one of those two, you're in a bad spot here. Like, again, you can see it now. Like, you have to be on DirecTV for the Jazz right now. And I think my hope is, my instincts are telling me, hey, this is Ryan Smith, young owner, billionaire, really smart guy. So being that that's the case, who would be surprised if in 6 months we got a deal done and it was all about streaming and all about finding them on their phone, and like, yes, we kept DirecTV, but we added this whole other side of the conundrum, this whole other side of the situation. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, by the way, just looking at Ticketmaster, there are a ton of tickets available for UFC 278 Saturday night.
A ton. Like, does it give you a number?
I mean, there's a lot of seats. If you look at all the tickets
everything
that are available,
in color. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all available, man. Like, it is in my mind that all the blue there. I don't know if you guys can see that. All that blue is available tickets.
Wow.
Like, there's a lot of tickets available, man. Like, it is.
That's a lot of tickets, dude.
It's nervous time. Like, I just think that this team needs a win. This team needs a win. And when we talk about the Jazz TV deal remaining the same, man, that's got to be frustrating. Greg Hawkins gives us a $5 tip. Thanks, Greg. He says, Monty makes a great point about Bonneville. Bonneville radio covers 6 markets from Seattle to Denver, and TV covers the entire Utah market.
Yeah.
And you have a radio deal with them already. Bonneville, for those of you who don't know, here in Salt Lake, Bonneville manages the zone. They're what's called a leased management agreement. Bonneville International manages those radio stations. I don't understand why you don't put Jazz games on KSL News Radio. I don't get it. You want to leave sports talk there, and it's just this town. And I want to be gentle with this because they're all doing their best. I'm certain of it. But this town really lacks significant media. Mm-hmm. This town really lacks media that will hold the Jazz accountable.
Yeah.
That will hold BYU and Utah accountable.
Yeah.
Like, it lacks. And I don't understand why the bar is not much higher. And I think a lot of it is the media doesn't make the Jazz create online content. What this situation is screaming for is, we can't be on TV. Okay, here, let us give you a docuseries on our website. Let us shoot and produce a docuseries on our website. Let us shoot and produce a docuseries on YouTube, on social media. Why aren't you doing that? Why are you not doing that? You don't have a videographer full-time. That's why you're not doing it. Why did we not get something better on the jersey release? You didn't have the infrastructure. I just am amazed by it.
How hard is it to get Ryan Smith in his office, in his chair at his desk, talking to a camera, saying, hey, Jazz fans, this is Ryan? How hard is that?
I think Ryan Smith has to make a statement about this.
Yeah.
This is one of those things. I know he's in town. I know he's going to the UFC. This is one of those things where he has to be heard.
Yeah, and
he has to be heard.
I just think the relatability factor is immense with Ryan. Ryan, again, I think this is lost on people sometimes. Ryan Smith is not old white owner dude.
No,
that is not who Ryan Smith is. Ryan Smith is young, go-getter, Utah guy, like school here, everything. Get on camera. Show us who you are. Talk to me. Let me know how you feel about it. I don't want to hear from Jimmy Bob in media relations. I don't care about him. I care about you, Ryan. I want to know, hey, what's the plan here? Hey, Jazz fans, literally it could be 30 seconds. I'd love a couple minutes, but it could be 30 seconds. Hey, Jazz fans, we're frustrated. I'm frustrated. I was trying to get this done, and we just didn't get it done. It didn't work out because of X, Y, and Z or whatever, But this is what we're doing moving forward. And hey, by the way, we're going to start doing X, Y, and Z so you can look forward to something. It's an opportunity. Every crisis or every issue is an opportunity to do something positive. And you have an opportunity here, and I hope they do something.
This is why?
Yes, this is why.
He went to BYU.
This is why on Utah Jazz Radio that I can't hear.
Yeah, exactly right. That I cannot hear. But the thing is, if you don't want to talk about Donovan Mitchell and you don't want to do interviews, I'm fine with that.
I get that.
Sit in front of a camera. Sit down in front of you know what I would love to see? Sit down in front of your cell phone. I don't care. I don't care. If Robert Sarver several years ago can stand in front of a cell phone and release a statement, so can you. Where are you? Like, this is, to me, this is below Ryan Smith. Like, he is better than this.
Mm-hmm.
Better PR. Be out in front. And the thing that I want from Ryan Smith so badly is I want him to be a man of the people. I want him to do, like, if I'm the Utah Jazz and I'm Ryan Smith, when I bought the team, I'd have done fan town halls. I think it's a fabulous way to marry you up to your fan base. I'd have done town halls with my season ticket holders. If I am Ryan Smith right now, I am calling my season ticket holders and saying, hey, listen, hey, XYZ. I'm actually getting on the phone with my corporate sponsors and saying, hey, like, I'm the owner of the team. I want you to hear this from me. Has he done that? I don't know. I have no idea. But what I do know is I have not seen or heard a word from Ryan Smith, and I'm waiting for that.
By the way, I think you made a great point earlier. This is not Ryan Smith's fault.
No.
Right? But I think how many what I know is not every Jazz fan knows that. And I think that these type of situations for your, all jokes aside, for your casual Jazz fan, dude who works his 9 to 5 and then comes home and is making dinner for the kids and flips on the game, has no idea about a TV deal or when the negotiating window opened or when the deal closes or the fact that the deal was signed in 2009 by some jamoke of a front office. Like, they don't know that, dude.
No.
They don't know that. So if I'm Ryan, I want to define how we're handling this. I want to say, like, hey, yes, this deal was signed in 2009. This is where we are now. This is what limited us today.
I do think this is a crisis for Jazz fans.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's the end of the world. I'm not saying that Jazz fans are never going to another game. But if you have any skill at all, and I believe in Ryan Smith is, I think, the right guy for this ownership group.
Yeah.
I believe in Ryan Smith.
Yeah.
This is a chance to display empathy. This is a chance to say, hey, Jazz fan, I know we're not serving you well. Because I was told directly today by a source at the Jazz, he is upset. His mantra, his mission is to super serve his fan base.
How would anybody know that?
We wouldn't. And what I'm saying is I would love to have Ryan Smith release a video, call your fan base, be around. Like, I think you have to do that stuff.
And I agree with you. I think your point about it could literally be on his cell phone is well taken. I almost think it brings more credibility. If you're in your office and you're like, hey, Jazz fans, like, this is what's going on, that's, like, super credible.
If you're in your car, if you are on a horse, if you're
at the practice facility.
I wouldn't recommend that you do it like sitting in the crib, like, rocking diamonds everywhere. That's probably not the right approach, but
Yeah.
But Ryan is a sharp, hip guy.
Yes.
I expect more than this. And I while it's not his fault, he cannot handle the problem. You cannot prevent the problem, but you certainly can make the problem worse with the way that you react to it.
Yep.
And I think that Ryan has to be proactive in the way that he reacts to this. I think he's smart. I am a big believer in him.
And hey, maybe he will. Maybe he will, right? I mean, it's still,
yeah.
I mean, what time is it? It's only 1:40.
Fans are pissed.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about it. Like, if you look at the Twitter reaction to this, if you look at some of the comments to this, fans are upset. There is absolutely no doubt about that. Scammer Trolling says Ryan should come on the Monty Show. I have asked him directly
repeatedly,
a dozen times,
repeatedly,
and he will say he will not answer. They will say no. Scammer Trolling says, "What's he hiding? Nothing. Ryan's not hiding anything."
Look, we're not gonna. It doesn't need to go down that path. It's not about hiding anything. It's nothing like that. It's more about it is so there's two mindsets in media, right? Here in Salt Lake, the mindset is putting video out and being on the spot and, like, being proactive. That's not the mindset here, and that needs to change. But right now, here today, it's not the mindset.
Who's going to make them accountable to that?
Yeah, I mean, we're the only show that isn't affiliated with any sports team here. That's it. We're the only one. And I know we're doing this in my basement or whatever, as the Twitter hater said, and like, hey, we're just those guys on YouTube. I get it, but we have 100,000 people a month in Utah that watch this show. So to those 100,000 people, like, ask Ryan, tweet at Ryan. By the way, does anyone know that Ryan Smith's Twitter is easy to find? Like, you can tweet directly at him. Yeah. He'll see it for sure.
And I would tell you to tweet at him. That's what Twitter's for.
That's the point.
Be respectful. You know,
Yeah.
I would say treat him with respect, but I would tweet at Ryan Smith if I were you. If you're a Jazz fan and you're upset about this, I would. Tanner says, I could be wrong, but I feel like deep down Ryan is like any other old white owner. I totally disagree with that. Ryan doesn't have the guts to come on this show, Scammer Trolling. I don't think it's a guts thing. I think there is a perception. And it's interesting that, you know, we've had conversations about where this show should be. About, hey, where do you do this? Or, hey, why don't you come bring your show over here? Or, hey, have you thought about... The issue is that there is a perception that we're like some rebel. It's the rebels in the Starfleet and Skywalker.
Hey, guys.
And the Chewbacca. Like, there's some belief that we're some rebels. We're not some rebels. We are just doing our own thing. We are unaffiliated. So I think that guys like Ryan Smith, what good does it do Ryan Smith to come on this show when he has an entire radio station that he can laud over?
Well, I can answer that. I think there's huge positivity in it. I think that anytime you go on KSL or whatever, any of the radio stations in this town, you're not getting unbiased opinion. They are not going to ask Ryan Smith tough questions.
But does Ryan want to be asked tough questions?
It doesn't matter if he wants to be asked tough questions. He doesn't have to answer them in this town, which is why, again, I would agree with that. I don't think that. I, honest to God, don't know if Ryan Smith knows we exist. Like, I'll be honest. I don't know, bro.
I doubt he does.
I have no idea. But my point is that whether it's us or another station, the problem is that there's not a radio station, a media affiliate that's official and everything, that's unbiased. That's the problem, dude. And that's why this market struggles sometimes with this stuff. But I do think that, you know, while we're talking about Ryan Smith, I think Ryan has an opportunity to change that. You don't have to be. There's nothing that says, hey, I'm the Jazz owner, I always have to go on KSL. There's nothing that says that. No. You can go on any platform you want.
By the way, you think that Ryan Smith sent the bots to the channel?
Probably, yeah. I mean, you know, now clearly he heard us. You know, I mean, that's what happened.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. EB16 says, being a Jazz fan sucks right now. Why, EB? What does that mean? Tanner says, RSL did a fan town hall and improved their relationship with the fan base. The Jazz need to do that ASAP. I think that's a good idea.
But how did that RSL Apple distribution deal make you feel, right? With MLS? I mean, that's another great example of this town. You're going to Apple TV. I can tell you right now, I'm not subscribing to Apple TV. It's not happening. And I'm an Apple guy. I'm not adding that to my list. It's not happening.
Scammer Trolling says, hate to say it, but right now RSL is bigger than the Jazz. Come on.
No.
I don't think so.
Sorry, dude.
I don't think so in any way. Tanner says, so true, Scammer Trolling. They're not bigger than the Jazz.
No.
I just want a decent streaming service so I can watch anywhere I might be, AK92 says. Absolutely.
It's called, again.
Absolutely.
Like, this is why I keep advocating, and not because we're on YouTube, but this is kind of the greatness of what we've been able to accomplish so far in our journey. YouTube lets you reach anybody, anywhere. Bro, we did. I'd have to look at the numbers, but I think we're at like 1,500 views on the show this morning. And a good part of that was Knicks fans finding the show. That's my point. Get in front of this thing. Define how the fans should react. Tell them what's happening. That's what I think you have to do. I honestly think you owe it to the fan base.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you do. Greg Hawkins says, according to Tony Jones, the Jazz have 4 nationally televised games. 4 of 82. Well, I know they have that one game against the Knicks in the Garden that's on TNT.
Against the Knicks, I'm sure.
And then I think the other ones are NBA TV. I know they don't have any ESPN or ABC games right now. So, yeah, that's crazy, man. That is a lack of distribution. Scammer Trolling says, is the LDS Church to blame for this bad TV deal? No. Come on. The Music Maker says, so glad LeBron's staying in L.A. and the Cavs fans don't have to deal with him again. Ouch. Yowzer. How about that story today? That LeBron James has signed a 2-year, $97 million deal. 2 years and $97 million. What is your, just right off the top of your head, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that the Lakers held true to their word. Rob Pelinka came out 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and said that he's going to do everything that he can do to make sure that LeBron James retires a Laker. And that's essentially what this is. I mean, you signed him to, what does that work out to? Just short of $50 a year, essentially. So, if you're paying this guy just short of $50 a year, that's right on track with what you're paying him now. And I would guess you believe that he could take you to the promised land still. You believe that he can be, at the core of a championship team, which I believe. I still think Bron's got plenty left in the tank. I think he's in the modern era of player that can play for 20-plus years and can do things with their body. That's just where we are with modern health and technology. So that's why I say I think from a basketball perspective, I don't necessarily love it. I think that, Anthony Davis has been unreliable. Westbrook obviously has been terrible.
Westbrook, please.
Westbrook has been terrible. My apologies. Sorry I got your name wrong, Westbrook, whatever your name is at this point. But when you're making $48.5 a year, that's it's a lot of money, but no one's going to blink at that. Again, you're in Los Angeles, you're LeBron James, it all makes sense. I think the only question people have is, are they going to play together in Cleveland or are they going to play together in Los Angeles? That's the only question people have.
Yeah. I the way I look at this LeBron extension with the Lakers is it was inevitable. LeBron doesn't want to leave LA. He's got too many business interests there now. And I think when you're looking at the situation with Bronny, his young son, who is about to go to college, and he is not going to the G League, he is going to go to college. I think that it makes perfect sense for LeBron to sign a 2-year extension. Now, he did leave money on the table, though, because if he'd have played this season, because this extension is for not this season, which is he's already under contract, it's the next 2 seasons. So LeBron is now under contract for 3 years. That puts him in a window to play with Bronny. So I think you're going to see if the Lakers aren't good, he's going to load manage a lot. Because I think he wants to be on the same floor with Bronny James. And, I understand that. If I could have played with Jake, he's a terrible basketball player. It would have never happened. But I was good enough to turn pro and stuff, Anyway, the point is, if I could have played with my son, absolutely I would have done that. If I could have gotten paid to play with my son, I would have absolutely done that. I just think it's one of those things where you have to, in my opinion, you have to do everything that you can do if you're the Lakers to keep LeBron on that team because he's going to sell tickets.
Yep.
And I don't personally have any reason to believe in a guy like Russell Westbrook. Why would you? You have no reason to believe in a guy like Anthony Davis. Why would you? I think that the Jazz and the Lakers are in very remarkably similar positions. Neither one of them is a championship caliber team. Neither one of them. And the question is, who's going to keep their star longer? And in this case, very clearly, the Lakers and the Jazz now are married to their guys for the same amount of time, right? So my question is, what does this do to the rest of the league? I don't think it changes anything. I really don't. There was a lot of people thinking that the Lakers are going to sign him to trade him. I totally disagree with that.
After the street closed Davis.
I think they trade Anthony Street Close Davis long before they trade LeBron.
Yeah.
But the bottom line on this is, and I don't even know that this is in question, the bottom line on this is the Lakers are in win-now mode.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, will they win now? And I don't know that they will. But I have no problem paying LeBron this kind of money. I think it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. No, I agree. And look, I understand from the life side of it for LeBron. And if you're the Lakers, he brought you a championship. That's not forgotten on anybody. Like, I think it's a necessary thing. But the reality of the situation is, at some point, you're going to have to get a team together in LA that can actually produce when it matters most. And that's what I think the struggle is. We can't, like the Lakers last year, the drama on that team and in that locker room with Vogel and like the Vogel Westbrook thing and like, LeBron, even LeBron being the guy that brought Westbrook to the team, like it just had a bad feel to it. So now what you've done is you've said, okay, we're going to replace Frank Vogel, even though it really probably wasn't on him. We're going to replace him and bring in Darvin Ham, and we're going to hope that smooths things over. But the problem is there's no fix for Anthony Davis's legs not holding up. There's no fix for Russell Westbrook's bad shot mechanics that make him shoot it off the end of the backboard. Like, I'm not trying to hate, but that's what it is. And so if I'm LeBron, to your point, yeah, I am going to load manage if we suck. I am going to load manage if we're not even going to make the play-in. Absolutely. And if you're the Lakers, I think this is yet another season where if you're bad, you have an opportunity to develop talent. That's just as simple as it is. And you notice they did that last year with THT and a couple of the other guys, Austin Reeves. Like, you're seeing these guys develop. So that's why I say it just depends if they're winning or not, much like with the Jazz. Again, if you're winning, you're going to be in a lot better of a place. Not having a TV deal feels a little better if you're a playoff team. You know, like, that's how it works in sports.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting to see what they do. I think it's very interesting to see what they do, man. Scammer Trolling says, bag alert, major bot alert. Bot alert, major bot alert, exactly.
Right.
The Music Maker says, so glad LeBum's staying in L.A. I know. Gotta love them bots, Christopher Leal says. We got him. Tanner says, guys, let's be real. Compared to other media here, you are rebels. Are we, though?
Hey, guys.
Are we, though?
I think my opinion is we feel like rebels because of the feel of our show and the way we go about it, which is honest, open conversation.
Just talking about it.
That just doesn't. I don't care about what my boss says because I don't have a boss. I don't care about what the Jazz think because I don't work for the Jazz. Like we don't. And again, we don't say that out of a rebel mindset. It's just like the setup. That's the beauty of it. And again, we don't do commercial blocks. We don't have ED commercials. We don't have any of this stuff that turns people off. You come here and you know what you're going to get. And I think if that makes people feel like we're rebels, great. But we're not trying to be rebels. We're just trying to have a conversation.
Yeah, totally agree. Papo and Nana. If I could watch the Jazz on YouTube TV, I would be so happy. You can't.
It's that easy.
Brandon West says there's a report by ESPN publicists that Mitchell trade will be done before the first game of the season. Seems kind of silly. Well, I mean, that TNT game in the Garden, there's one national TV game really to speak of. It's the Knicks and the Jazz. I mean, is Donovan going to be wearing a Knick uniform or a Jazz uniform that night?
So funny.
I mean, is that the only reason that that TNT took that game? Does TNT expect Donovan to be a Knick and not a Jazz fan on that night? I don't know.
But how many of those stories? See, again, this is my point, though. How many of those storylines do we have? Like, if Don if Don gets traded to the Knicks and then they play in the Garden, you're gonna get Rudy on the 21st. Like, you have all these storylines, and you can't watch them for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating.
Man.
It's incredibly frustrating. Tanner says, you guys need to get jobs at Jazz marketing department. I'm not even kidding. Nah, man, I'm good.
No.
Not that I wouldn't want to work for the Jazz or
Yeah,
like doing. We're good where we are. This show couldn't exist if they worked for the Jazz, Tanner. Good point.
Correct.
Thank you, Gabe.
Correct.
Greg says it helps that they didn't grow up in the whole Utah milieu, M-I-L-I-E-U. No, we didn't grow up in Utah. That does help. I would agree with that. Chase Stewart says those ED commercials get so old on 1280.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I agree.
And again, I want to be really clear, and I always like to say this, probably ad nauseum. I have no problem with that, like them or like we're not out here trying to hate on them, but it's just like we listen to it's an experience thing. Like you get hammered over the head with it, like it's just terrible.
Yeah, totally agree. It is. You get hammered over the head with it.
Like literally, like that's what you hear.
What's an erection?
We'll see. James Knight, what's up, buddy? Goes, morning, guys. I was not aware the show ran later now. Cool. No, there's breaking news that the Utah Jazz got their TV deal done, and it's the exact same TV deal they had last year, which is to say they didn't get a TV deal done.
Apologize to that man.
Yeah, and the issue is, again, if you're just tuning into the show, the Utah Jazz, their TV deal remains unchanged. Dish Network customers still have no access to Utah Jazz games.
It's not the best situation, and we all know that.
DirecTV and Comcast are the only full-time TV and streaming options for the Utah Jazz. And, oh, by the way, they also released their schedule today. And October is a real ball buster.
Finals.
I mean, just get out the nutcracker.
Back is broken.
I mean, Denver on opening night. At Minnesota, Rudy Gobert 2 days later. New Orleans on the 23rd on the road. At Houston on the 24th. Home for Houston on the 26th. At Denver the 28th. Home for Memphis the 29th. At Memphis, or home for Memphis on the 31st.
Hey, look here, man.
That's your October. Good luck.
So you're probably going to start the season 4 and 8 or 9?
That's a gift. I mean, you're not beating Denver. That's a loss. You're not beating Minnesota. That's a loss. New Orleans.
That'll be tight. That's a winnable game, though.
Okay, let's give it to them.
Is that home or is that away?
That's
away.
That's away.
That's away. Yeah, you probably lose.
You're 0-3.
Yeah.
Houston, you're 0-4. At home for Houston, you're 1-4.
No, you're not losing to. Come on. I think it's close, but I don't think we should just rack that up as a loss. Come on, dude. That's hard.
How is it?
That's
and
harsh.
I'm talking about this Jazz roster today. How is this Jazz roster going to defend Houston?
Yeah, well, better than the last Jazz roster. Can we agree on that?
Maybe. Yeah, we need to see how it comes together. I think there's 2 wins here. I think one of those 2 Memphis games and one of the Houston games. Dude! That's it.
Bro. Maybe it's better that the TV deal didn't get renewed. Maybe you guys are right. Maybe you're right.
Yeah. Let's see. Tanner Plummer says, James, where have you been? James Knight. James is one of those guys who was upset that we get so many comments now during the live show that we don't often get to read everybody's comment. Or every single comment, which we try to do, James. We love you, buddy. Greg says it's got to be 6 a.m. in Australia right now.
Something like that. James, what time is it, bro?
Pudge NYC says, what's up? The Monty boy's back again.
What's up, bud?
Indeed. James Knight says almost 6 a.m. here in Melbourne, Greg. Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Tanner says, okay, I got to go. Bye, guys. See you, man.
All right,
appreciate it.
Yep.
Leonard, Don, and Endelove says, we back. We are back. And just to wrap this up, because again, we actually have lives. If you're just tuning in, just want to reset that the breaking news this afternoon is that the Jazz, in fact, did announce their TV deal. It remains unchanged, unfortunately, which means that if you are a Dish Network customer, you have no access to Utah Jazz basketball games. None. If you want every game, you need to get to DirecTV or Comcast Xfinity. Those are the 2 providers that can carry AT&T Sportsnet, which is or AT&T Rocky Mountain, I guess it is.
I want it.
And if you're on DirecTV, get the League Pass, because then you can watch any game you want, and you can watch the visiting or opponent announcers. Every game is on DirecTV. Every game is streamed on DirecTV. That's where I would tell you to go. I'm a DirecTV customer, and I love it. But if you're on Dish Network, just know you have no access to the games. And the other breaking news this afternoon is the LA Lakers and LeBron James have agreed on a 2-year, $97.1 million extension. That's $48 million a year. Absolutely. Don't forget, we are sending 2 listeners to see BYU and Notre Dame at the Shamrock Series. In Las Vegas, that is on October 7th and 8th. We give you 2 nights at the Palms Resort Casino. We also give you 2 tickets to the game and $250 gas card to get you there. And to enter, all you have to do is go to any of the 5 Utah locations for Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh, Logan, Layton, Murray, and St. George. There's a box on the counter with our beautiful faces on it.
Well, obviously my face is better. Clearly.
Yeah, but not doing it. Anyway, our beautiful faces are on it. Fill out the slip, drop it in the box, and then join us in Lehigh at the Barbecue Pit Stop on September 17th. We'll be fresh off the jet.
Yeah.
Back from Hawaii.
Yeah.
Shaka bra. Anyway,
yes.
We'll be back from Hawaii. Exactly right. On September 17th, we'll watch the BYU-Oregon game in Eugene at the Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh. And at the halftime of that game, we will pull the winner after we wash our hands from eating all those amazing wings and pizza. And it's going to be amazing. We'll pull the winner of the BYU drive away to see BYU and Notre Dame in Las Vegas on September 17th, and it is all presented by our good friend Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage. 801-543-9666, NMLS number 278545. Well, boys, it was good to see you for the last hour here on the Monty Show. We'll be back tomorrow morning, bright and early at 6:30 in the morning Mountain Time.
More on this tomorrow.
Yeah, more on this tomorrow. We'll keep doing more work on that. Thanks for being here. Couldn't do this show without you guys. So until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.